This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on a snowy Saturday morning. A little bit of a late start as if you're headed out, wait a couple hours. I think a little bit after lunchtime things will be okay. But the roads are a little greasy, a little slick. Travel a little slow. Leave yourself some extra time, which I did. I left myself some extra time, and still, it took longer than anticipated. But again, nice day of racing ahead across the country. We will be talking about a little bit of that as we proceed this morning here on Racing Across America. Towards the end of the program, we'll be joined by our friend Steve Bick. I was hoping to talk to him today about the results from yesterday with his homebred, who was going to be making the first start of the career down at Aqueduct yesterday, but the program was called off prior to the race being run, so we'll hit on some other subjects as well. Joe Christofek from the Fairgrounds will join us. A big day down there, certainly, so we'll hit on all of that. Nice racing at Gulfstream as always, and don't forget Gulfstream Park Champions start here. I want to thank them for their sponsorship of this program, some of the other programming and events here at Capital OTB. But we're going to start the show concentrating on some of the action down in New York. We'll keep our fingers crossed that things go as planned today. But our friends at West Point have a live runner in today's Jerome. And we're joined now by the head honcho from West Point Thoroughbreds, Terry Finley. Good morning, Terry.
Hey, Seth, good morning.
Happy to be.
I've got my toes crossed, I got my fingers crossed, and my elbows crossed. So, come on, we need some help today. We need to run.
It has got to be frustrating as an owner because this is rescheduled. Wasn't it about 2 weeks ago it was originally supposed to be run?
That's true. It was like January 1st or 2nd.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. But, I was just at Palm Meadows. I saw a couple works and, talking to some of the trainers. And what you really have to do is take a deep breath and realize, it's a long year.
Yeah.
And, everybody's trying to run races, right? No one's trying to cancel days. And take a breath and take a step back, and everything's going to work out. That's how and that's really the only way you can do it without going crazy, I think.
Yeah, it's just frustrating for the guys in New York because I've said a few times, trainers, jockeys, and you think of the people behind the scenes, concession people and whatnot. With no racing days, folks don't get paid, and so it's been frustrating here in New York. We've seen it other years in other parts of the country. It's just that time of year where the weather can affect things, and it's a case where, for safety factors, you certainly can't argue on some of these days. So it's just a little bit frustrating for everybody involved. But, yeah, we're keeping our fingers crossed for you guys because let's get into it. You have a live runner here in the Jerome this afternoon, $150,000, kind of baby steps potentially on the Derby trail. I think the betting public is going to tilt for Frenzy Fire because, early in January, you get the Champagne runner to show up Champagne winner to show up in New York. They'll go in that direction. But you guys are absolutely live. And I had Dale on, Dale Romans, last week, and we talked a little bit about your horse, Seven Trumpets. We're going to go back as we talk here, Terry, and watch the November 25th optional claimer, non-winners of one other than down at Churchill. Seven Trumpets is going to win that one as the 6-5 favorite. And I said to Dale, and I'll see if you agree, I think in the fall, the 2-year-old races down at Churchill are very salty and very productive, not just the stakes races, but maiden races and races like this, the first level allowance races. And so when horses come out of those with gutsy wins like this one, you really have to have a lot of confidence going forward.
Sure do. And I think you're absolutely right, Seth. You look in the spring and summer at the 3-year-old crop, and a lot of them trace back to those races, that you bring up at Churchill Downs. And so the 2-year-old program at Churchill in the end of the fall is really strong. But one of the advantages is it really gives you an indication as you get ready to go into the winter, either to the fairgrounds or the Gulfstream, of where you rate and if you got the makings of a quality 2-year-old. So in that respect, it's good. But on the drawback is you open the form if you've got a good 2-year-old and you look and you see the quality, both in the pedigrees and also in the price tags, that people pay, the Cassies of the world and Mott and everybody else, that runs their 2-year-olds at Churchill. So it's good. I think it really gives you a good read on just where you stand. And, that's important, because I think we're all biased in the 2-year-olds that we get our hands on. We all think that they're at the upper, echelons of their class. And that's just not the case. So the fact that we can, get a better sense of where we're at, I think if you apply that knowledge, I think is very helpful a little bit later on at the beginning of their 3-year-old years.
And again, we just looked at the first level allowance win that was career start number 3. The start at Ellis, the career debut wasn't much, but you can always forgive the career debut. They get to get education sometimes. This one certainly did. Then went over to Churchill, won the maiden, and then the race we just looked at. Those latter 2 at Churchill were 6.5. This afternoon it'll be a 1-turn mile at Aqueduct. You think he's going to handle the stretch out?
Well, I think he will. Obviously, this is a unique situation, the fact that the vast majority of these horses that are running today, they haven't done much over the last, say, 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks. So that's always in the back of your mind. I don't think they'll be coming home real fast. And I think it'll just be, you'll think about the fitness, and I think the horses that don't run super well today, I think will all have an excuse. The connections will have an excuse. But I like the fact that it's not 2 turns, right? Especially considering the conditioning aspect of where we're at. But it's if they do run, which I called up, and I think there's a pretty good shot they at least start the card. But if they do run, and I think it'll be good to get these horses started. And you talked about the Champagne winner. I think he's probably going to be, very, very tough. And, Jason Service, you've got to respect him and, the connections. But, I think we're in with a shot. I think we'll run well, and we'll get the year started, and you'll give us a shot to see if we deserve to be on the trail.
What made you decide Jerome, you and Dale, what was the thought process behind coming up to New York? Because you look at the PPs underneath workouts in December down at Gulfstream, so obviously came up from Florida to try this race.
Yeah, we just tried to do something different. He's not a horse that bowls you over, and he doesn't show you that he's a brilliant horse in the morning in that respect, Seth. So we weren't trying to get cute. We just thought the competition it might be a little easier than it would have been, than it was going to be in the Mucho Macho Man. And It turned out, certainly there was a really nice colt that won the Mucho Macho Man. So I think in that respect, we probably made the right decision. But now we're just faced with the circumstances that we talked about at the beginning of our call, and you just take it as they come, and we'll see. I think the other thing is, if we cancel today and we have another week back, I don't even know if they're going to use the race, right? Because they've got the withers, and so it really changes the dynamic. But everybody is faced with the same situation, so you can't really complain if because first, it doesn't do any good to complain, and second, you're just complaining to the wind because we're all struggling here. But things will get better, and this too shall pass.
All right. Again, that's the Jerome this afternoon. 7 trumpets for West Point Thoroughbreds. We'll be rooting for that one. Always like to root for you guys because typically there are some local folks involved in a lot of these partnerships. So good luck this afternoon with 7 trumpets. Terry, I wanted to touch on some other horses as well, and I want to go back because we were down at Aqueduct that weekend doing some audio cut-ins on Cigar Mile weekend. So we were there on the Friday to see Empire Line make the career debut, and we're going to watch that here. We're going to pick up, in fact, the horse coming in to the stretch, and you can see the West Point colors. It'll be the number 11 horse. Makes a nice run to get up and get it done in the career debut. Talk a little bit about Empire Line and what you're expecting. Boy, we're watching about the 8th ball. You think he's never going to do it, and then nice late run. And as I say, we were down there that day, and I may have texted you as well as Tommy Bellhouse and said, I think you got a nice little runner here. What's upcoming for Empire Line?
Well, actually, we put him back in the New York bred stake because that race was canceled along with that was 2 days after the Jerome, the day it was originally scheduled. So we've been in the same pattern and the same program with him. He hasn't done much in the last couple of weeks, but it's a good group of New York breds, and in that respect, you always question if they're going to come back and in their second start they're going to replicate, but. We think that he will, and it's we're looking forward to see how he runs. I know Johnny B, who rode him in his first start, really thought he ran well, and the fact that you have at this point a good 3-year-old colt, whether he's a New York bred or not, everybody's excited.
Yeah.
This is the time to have good 3-year-olds, and I think we have a couple of them, but time will tell if they're as good as we think they are. But that's the exciting part of owning and campaigning horses in New York and around the country. It's the best sport in the world, and we all know it. And the key is to keep spreading the message and the beauty and the thrill of our business to more and more people.
And speaking of that, I'll let you tout just to move to another topic briefly here. I was looking at the West Point website yesterday, and you guys are doing a young professionals kind of introduction to racing type of event down in New York City.
We sure are. We had actually Empire Line is owned in part by a group of like 12 people who are under the age of 35, who are in the professional world, in the business world, who have shown an affinity and a love for the business, but aren't really at the stage in their career that they can buy a share or an entire horse. So we put together a group, and they have 5 horses, and they have a little piece, and they don't have any more bills after the initial investment. And it's really been a big hit, and we're excited. It's starting to grow, and there are more and more people of that generation who are looking to get involved into the business. And I can tell you the first year has been a huge hit. I give a lot of credit to my team that came up with it about a year ago to present this to the people that we've been in contact with. So I think it's the wave of the future, and I think it's really going to go over even better in our second year.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. If people want more info, they can go to the West Point Thoroughbreds website because, again, there'll be an event down in New York City, a drivable distance for people in our area as well. All right, Terry, wanted to touch on a couple other horses and just get updates. I checked. They're both working down in Florida, but I want to go back to the big weekend you guys had at the Breeders' Cup. That was a lot of fun. A couple of second-place finishes in the juvenile turf races. First, let's look on the girls' side of things, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf. Rushing Fall, who's up for an Eclipse Award and a real contender in that 2-year-old filly category, is going to win. That's going to be the number 11. But best performance for West Point Thoroughbreds, the number 1 horse, runs second in here. Give us an update on best performance and where you expect her to show up next.
Well, she doing well. She had a really good winter. I haven't seen her yet. I'll be up at Payson probably within the next week. But I talked to Christoph, and he's very happy with her. She just got back on the work the other day, so she'll work every week from now on, and we'll just see. I think she's probably the end of February, the first part of March, and we'll see. And I would think that we're going to at least try her back on the dirt. She had run well this past summer, both at Belmont and at the beginning of the meet at Saratoga. She finished second in the 2-year-old filly stake on the dirt. So, we're excited. I don't know if she's an Oaks filly, but at the very core, that filly's got a lot of talent, and we'll have plenty of options with her. So, she's a really good horse to have in our stable because she shows up every time, and she's run hard and well every time she's been to the post for. So when you have those, all you do is smile because you're going to have some fun. Yeah. If things stay on course with a horse like that.
Had to be a big smile on Breeders' Cup weekend, as they say, because also we'll take a look at the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Number 1, Mendelssohn will win, but number 2, Untamed Domain for West Point. Thoroughbreds run second, and you finish second in a couple Breeders' Cup races. That's a pretty good weekend. Give us an update. As I say, they've been working in Florida. This one, when I pulled it up on Equibase, 3 works down in Florida since December 30th. Won the summer up at Woodbine last year. So again, you were talking about good 3-year-olds. This is one of them, Untamed Domain.
Yeah, and we're basically, I could say verbatim exactly what I said about the filly. We're excited. He's had a good break. I just saw him about 30 minutes ago. He worked at Palm Meadows. He's a decent workhorse. He's not a great workhorse, but he's coming along and he's getting there, and he certainly likes to make a big run in the races that he's been successful in. And, we are going to try him on the dirt. We're just trying to figure out at what point, whether we bring him back on the turf in the Dania Beach, or we bring him back in the Holy Bull or the Sam Davis. So it'll be one of those 3. And, we'd love to think he's a Kentucky Derby horse. His sire, certainly won the Kentucky Derby, and our trainer Graham Motion is excited, and I know he pays particular attention to this colt because of the connection that he's had, and he has to the Derby winner that he saddled. So, we're excited about him, and whether we wind up in the Derby or the Belmont Derby or the Kentucky Derby, I think time will tell. But we've got a quality horse on our hand, and he's a cool horse too. So. I'll keep smiling if these kind keep showing up underneath the black and gold.
Nice. And Terry, just got a couple minutes left, but I wanted to touch on, because I know you guys are prominent in the 2-year-old sales, and we're kind of hitting 2-year-old sales season. And you go back to 7 Trumpets, your runner in today's Jerome. You bought him last year at Ocala, April. Talk a little bit about how you prep for the sales. I'm just curious, when you come to a sale, how do you parse out that when the catalog comes out? Do you guys start rifling through it then and then get some visuals as well? How do you parse out which 2-year-olds you're going to bid on at those sales?
Yeah, it's a process. And, I tell you, Seth, you see, one of the things that I know all the time is the sophistication of the buyers really has increased exponentially over the last 10 years. So our competition, buying these horses has really gone up. And so, yeah, we dig in. I'll make a couple trips up to Ocala, which is where the vast majority of the horses that will be sold at the 2-year-old sales are training. So that'll help us a little bit. And we'll just dive into the catalogs, and we'll be there, when the first horses come off the van at the 2-year-old sales, and we'll get a sense of, how they're carrying themselves when they gallop and train. The last thing you want is to have a horse actually breathe, and for that breeze to be the best day of their lives, right? Because then you're looking at a false picture. We are looking for horses that are going to perform well, but that are on the upswing and that really have the innate talent, to stay together and to stay sound and to be a factor in their division against years as 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. And I'd like to think we've gotten a little smarter over the years. And, but the bottom line is you just got to be in it to win it. And you've just got to buy horses, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes, but every once in a while you're going to get on the ones that are going to put you in the spotlight, and they're going to make you look smart. And, so that's what we really enjoy, is to try to figure this out. And I think we all know we're never going to figure it out, but the hunt is really what is, fascinating to us, to me and my team, and to the partners, that have joined us. So it's fun. It's a fun time of the year, and we just can't wait for those first 2-year-old sales to get started.
Well, clearly the 4 replays we looked at this morning show you've had plenty of success recently as well as in the past. Folks can always visit the website. And your website, West Point Thoroughbreds, is great just for fans who want to kind of follow your horses as well. A lot of good news, and it keeps up with all the horses and where they're pointed and whatnot. Terry, certainly wish you a lot of luck in those 2-year-old sales coming up, but this afternoon as well. Fingers crossed that the Jerome goes off and we get a nice performance from 7 Trumpets because, as I say, baby steps on potentially the Derby Trail.
Well, that sounds great, Seth, and keep up the great work. You give a great service to the people in the Capital Region, and I know when we talk to our partners, they're always talking about, I saw this or I saw that on the OTB show. So, I think it's incumbent upon all of us to keep spreading the word. We have a great game, and it's just going to get better and better. And but it's up to us individually to keep ensuring that things in our business are getting better and better. So I think we all need to take that responsibility very seriously. I'm
right with you. I like to evangelize for the sport whenever possible. Terry, again, good luck. Appreciate it.
Okay, Seth. Thank you.
Terry Finley, West Point Thoroughbreds. That'll bring us to our next break. When we come back, we'll shift our attention. Joe Christofek from Fairgrounds. Really nice stakes card today down there, headed by the Lecomte. We'll talk all of that right after this. Stay tuned.
It may be cold in the Northeast, but in South Florida, the action's hot. This winter, be part of the championship meet at Gulfstream Park, where the fields are deep and the payouts are big. With some of the most competitive turf racing in America, Gulfstream Park is your winter destination for the finest in championship thoroughbred horse racing. And if you're looking for the top jockeys and best trainers, you'll find them all at Gulfstream Park. So play it today. Gulfstream Park. Champions start here.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on a snowy Saturday morning here in the Capital Region, but hopefully the weather a little bit better down towards New Orleans, as it were, because it's a big stakes day down at the fairgrounds, and we're happy to be joined by the paddock commentator down there, Joe Christofek. Good morning, Joe.
Yeah, it says it's 45 here, and people are freaking out. You guys have killed for 45.
Give us a little overview overall. It's 45, but how the weather otherwise? What's it going to be like this afternoon?
We had a lot of rain the last couple of days, and it stopped midday yesterday, and the sun is shining. It's going to be a beautiful day. The track was fast mid-card yesterday, so no problems there. Turf is being rated soft as of this morning. And I'm guessing probably get a little bit of an upgrade maybe from there. I would say yielding probably by race time, but there's definitely going to be some give in the ground.
Sounds good. We like to hear that. And before we get into some thoughts on the card today, I just want to touch on, you're about a week and a half into the new gig. It was the Brian Spencer show down there for quite a while, and Brian moved on to some work with horseplayernow.com. That left an opening. You moved in at the fairgrounds, and as I say, you've been there for, a week and a half, couple of weeks. How's the new gig?
Yeah, it's funny because Katie Michelet was here before Brian, and Brian are both my proteges, and then I wind up following them here. So that was kind of ironic, and obviously they both did a great job. And this is a good time of year for me to be here, and I love it here. I love the people here. I love the food here. Familiar with the racing for the most part. Got to get schooled on those Louisiana-bred races, but it's turned out great, and very happy for Brian. I'm obviously intimately familiar with Horse Player Now and Jeremy Plunk, and Brian does a great job there. And I'm sure things are going to work out for the best.
Yeah, and give us your rotation now is what during the year?
Well, right now, Fairgrounds, and then we'll see what happens with Keeneland, and then Churchill, obviously leading up to Derby, and then Ellis Park and Kentucky Downs, and then back to Churchill. There's not many gaps in the year for me anymore.
No, that's a good gig. I like that. That's perfect. And, the Louisiana breds, I'll toss out. Star Guitars turned out to be a nice sire, I think.
Yeah, it's cool. Nobody knew what to expect, right? But what did he win? He won 22 races in his career, and the Louisiana-bred babies are running well, and it seems like 4 out of every 5 I handicap are by him. So it's interesting to see. Redding Colliery is another one that has impressed me, too, as a Louisiana sire. So, those races are competitive. Just like when I was at Hawthorne and Arlington, it's just getting intimately familiar with the Illinois breds. The Louisiana breds are the same thing.
Yeah, I'm right in the same boat. When in New York, it's the same way. There are the sires overall you're familiar with who are, good with precocious runners. But when you move to these state-bred programs, you have to pick out some of the sires who maybe are a little more obscure but can do well on that state-bred level. All right, Joe, let's take a look at some of the action this afternoon because, again, a really great stakes card. We'll hit on a few of them. First up, let's take a look at the Silver Bullet Day. I pulled up the Demoiselle from Aqueduct, albeit Wonder Godot is cross-entered in the Silver Bullet Day and the Lecomte. I don't know whether you have any feel for how that's going to go, but we're going to watch the Demoiselle here. Number 3, Wonder Godot, will win. The first try on the dirt for this horse was the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly. Kind of threw in a disappointing 6th there. Otherwise, had been on turf or synthetic up at Woodbine, but rebounded to a good performance here in the Demoiselle, a very good performance. I think if she goes in the Silver Bullet Day, she is clearly the horse to beat. I think she's really interesting in the Lecomte. What were your thoughts on the Silver Bullet Day?
Unless Mark Casse surprises us this morning, and scratches should be out probably within the next half an hour, she's going to go in the Silver Bullet Day. That's all indications. And, of course, her stablemate, Heavenly Love, is in the race as well. Wonder Godot ran great in the Demoiselle, but, man, she couldn't have drew up the playbook any better.
Yeah.
It was a perfect trip. Perfect pressing trip, 50-1, 116-1. She galloped out really well, though. And, it was an impressive performance. But, this game is about risk versus reward. It'll be interesting to see if she goes favored or Heavenly Love goes favored. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly race for Heavenly Love looks terrible on paper, but we thought it when it was happening in front of our eyes that the rail was bad, and it's really come back that way. Horses that have been that ran on the rail Breeders' Cup weekend have since come back to outperform their odds, and horses that were advantaged by the rail, not so much. So Heavenly Love was on the rail in the Juvenile Fillies, and she's been training great, and I give her a slight edge over Wonder Godot. Okay. Outside of those two, you might be stretching a little bit.
Interesting. All right. So, again, you're going for the stablemate in there. And I'm going to be interested to see where the odds go. Morning line 2-1 versus 3-1. I'll be interested to see how that one shakes out. But it's going to be a nice race, obviously, as we step along the 3-year-old filly trail towards the Kentucky Oaks. But you have plenty of action down there in the meantime for the 3-year-old fillies and the 3-year-old males. It's a great trail down there leading to the Louisiana Derby as well. And we get things off to a start in the Lecomte a little bit later on this afternoon. It is race number 9 today at the fairgrounds. And Joe, while we talk, I pulled up the allowance optional claiming win on December 16th from Principe Guilherme, if I'm pronouncing that close to correctly. But it is the Steve Asmussen trainee who is now 2 for 2 in the career and will be the 3-horse in here, winning off by a chart margin of 11. I think with those kind of connections, this horse is going to take all kinds of action. But I'm really interested to see what we get from Instilled Regard. This is a horse coming in from Southern California for Jerry Hollendorfer, finished 3rd under the wire behind Salamini and McKenzie in the Los Al Futurity, was subsequently moved up to 2nd. But it seems over the past few years, the Southern California Invaders, when they've come east along these Derby Trail steps, they've done very, very well. So he's really intriguing to me, although as we saw, Principe Guilherme with the win over the track, probably the way the betting public goes. Your thoughts on the Lecomte?
First of all, John Dooley says that Principe Guilherme. So
okay, all right. I'll go with that.
He does his research. I said it wrong the entire Churchill meet. This horse is good. The only thing I can say negative against Principe Guilherme is that he switches leads. He was on the wrong lead when he broke his maiden, and he switched back to his left lead in the allowance win. I'm sure you were looking at the video, and he switched back to the left lead. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's a vulnerability or not, but, I mean, he's shown quite a bit of ability so far. Instilled Regard, his dam is a half to Millionaire Good Reward, Millionaire Pure Prize. His Grand Dam is Heavenly Prize. He cost $1 million. He's supposed to be good, and he really took a big step forward, speed figure-wise, in the Los Al Futurity. I'm really intrigued by him as well. Zing Zang is Steve Asmussen's other horse. He broke his maiden impressively at Fairgrounds last time. Steve Asmussen talks about him in the same vein as Creator. So we're looking at a horse maybe down the line who could be a Belmont Stakes kind of horse because it seems like he'll run all day. And then Eben is stuck on the far outside. He had so many trouble trips in a row in Kentucky. He finally broke through last time. It was impressive doing it, but it was a one-turn mile. And I really think that's probably going to be his best game by Trap Shop out of a discreet cap mare. He's stuck on the far outside. I like him as a racehorse. I think he's going to be a good price. I just don't know if 2 turns against his caliber is going to be his eventual best game.
Yeah, you're going to get a price, though. You're going to get paid if you take that shot with Eben. All right, let's hit on one more for Saturday afternoon. Again, on a really nice stakes card down at the fairgrounds. But the Louisiana, that's the one we were going to hit on, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Louisiana, $75,000, 4-year-olds and up, mile and a 16th. Nice full field of 12 in here. I handicapped the card for the sheet that we put out on the website. I put the player on top. I put Cooptado, if I'm pronouncing Cooptado, in the second spot. And then Dazzling Gem in the third spot. Leo Frick, again, if I'm pronouncing that close to correctly, is maybe a little bit interesting from Brad Cox as well. But I thought the player coming in with Burrell scheduled to ride looked like the one that maybe the race would go through for me. What are your thoughts on Louisiana?
The race goes through the player for sure. It should be a fun day for Buff Bradley, or could be a potentially memorable day. He's got Groupie Doll's first day. He's got a sibling to the player, and he's got the player all running. So the future of his barn is kind of on the line today. So and Buff's an easy guy to root for. I went with Cedartown. I love Cedartown. You're not going to get 10-1. I'm thinking 4-1, 9-2. When he ran second at Keeneland in that A Other Than to Blue Ridge Traveler, that was a really good race for the level, and Blue Ridge Traveler looked really good winning, was eventually disqualified from purse money, giving Cedartown the win. And then Mike Stidham, who's one of the most underrated trainers in the country, sends his horse to the Zia Park Derby, and he wins very impressively there. And this is the horse with the upside. And he's a $620,000 Godolphin by Candy Ride. And he doesn't have a lot of miles on him, and the best is yet to come for him. Again, if you can get 9-2, I would take it.
Yeah, and brings in a nice little bullet work, too, that kind of jumps off the page.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt. I mean, this horse is on edge. This is the toughest task of his career. I don't like the horses coming out of the Cooptado race. That was kind of like a battle of wills where somebody had to win. Shut the Box, the former claimer, really good claim, but he was second in that race in the Tenacious. So I'm kind of fading those horses a little bit. I got Cedartown in the player one, too.
Sounds good. Joe, got to wrap it up, but we certainly appreciate the visit this morning. Again, it's been fun watching you down at the fairgrounds. Enjoy the rest of the season. I'm sure we will check in a number of times as the season progresses, but good luck this afternoon. Looks like a great card.
Yeah, if you're a horse player, I mean, you want to be in on this card today. There's like 160,000 in the Black Gold 5 carryover pool. We've talked about 3 of the races, Seth, but some of the other stake races are extremely wide open where you can sink your teeth into a 5, 6, 8, 10-1 shot and bet with confidence. And to me, that's what this game is all about. When you can bet a horse at 5, 6, 8, 10-1 and you're feeling really confident about it, those are the kind of races you want to be involved in. And that's what we have at the fairgrounds today. And I appreciate being on as always.
I want to toss something out there that you said in the paddock commentary a couple of days ago, because it is definitely worth noting. Folks can always go to the website and find your selections. Nice website for the fairgrounds with a lot of great information. But there are free PPs available all season long.
Yeah, it's brisnet.com/Churchill. Free PPs for fairgrounds, free PPs during the November meet at Churchill. Who knows what they're going to do next? But, man, when people have always clamored for free PPs, and it's not just for one day or 1 week or 1 month. I mean, it's the entire meet. So, and fairgrounds racing day-to-day is very competitive, and I think, more people should pay attention to it. You do a lot better playing the races when you're invested in the circuit. So it's a good circuit to invest in.
I'm right with you. Joe, appreciate it. Thanks for the visit.
All right, be well. Have a great day.
Joe Kristofek from the fairgrounds. All right, we will step back, take a break. When we come back, Steve Bick will join us. Again, unfortunately, we can't talk about his horse run, his homebred running yesterday, but we have plenty more to talk about. Want to get some of his thoughts on some of the 3-year-old action this weekend, and maybe some thoughts on what we saw last weekend as well on the 3-year-old side. Steve Bick will join us right after this.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. Happy to be joined now by our friend Steve Bick. Good morning, Steve.
Seth, good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Happy to have you on, and one of the reasons, obviously we're going to talk about other things, and that was in the game plan originally anyway, but one of the reasons I wanted you on this morning because I thought we'd have some fun talking about your runner yesterday at Aqueduct, 6th race scheduled to run, and we didn't get that far in the Aqueduct card, unfortunately. You were down there. Carlisle Bell breeder Steve Vick, owned by DT Stables. You're a racing nom de plume. Is Carlisle Bell the first horse that would have or eventually will run with you as a breeder?
Yes.
Nice. Out of course, the runner you guys had, Sable Chasm. Talk a little bit about what we can expect from her going forward. Maybe do you have? Is there something in the book that you're already looking at, or?
Well, they'll probably bring that. This was a New York maiden 40 going short. There's a New York maiden special next Friday in the book. They'll probably bring that race back to the 40. So we'll, whichever one comes first. She's been ready to run virtually for 2 months, and it's just been, it's just been nuts. This is the second time there's been a cancellation that where she was carded, and what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Everybody's fighting this, and it's as bad as anybody has in recent memory. I mean, there was that period in February a few years ago where we lost maybe 8 or 9 days out of 15 or so from snow, and it happens. I mean, it's with the racing. They play it outdoors, but this has been very tough. And the fog, I mean, it looked like the fog was lifting when the rain came in, but then the rain ended. They never got as much rain as had been forecast. And when the rain stopped, the fog came back, rolled right in. I mean, you couldn't see. The jock said they could barely see a 16th of a mile. I mean, it was bad. And certainly people say they raced before in fog. Well, yes, but not fog so that the stewards can't see the horses. If the stewards can't see and there's an incident, how are they supposed to adjudicate? So, for those that say, I remember Durkin couldn't see. Yeah, Durkin couldn't see, but the video was enough to make out, the images. And so you can't see numbers necessarily. And that was before they had the chiclets. So I understand. It was crazy down there. And you could sense it was happening because they knew that if they didn't get that third race off by, I think, 156, then it was going to get too late in the later stages to run, the 7th, 8th, 9th. It would get dark. So they'll try again today, and I think it looks like it should be all right today.
Carlisle Bell, should I know is there a reference there that I should know?
The reference comes from the oldest known trophy in racing, the Carlisle Bell, or the Carlisle Bells. They're like little sleigh bells that date back to 1599, and they've got the craziest history. Carlisle is one of those small country meets that goes back a long time in the UK, and the Carlisle Bells themselves, they at one point, I think in the 1800s, they disappeared for like 100 years, and then somebody found them in a filing cabinet. Like 100 years later, they had been put away for the season, and then they reappeared. So that story caught my imagination years ago, and I saved the name in the back of my mind, and thought it was cute and clever. Put the E on the end of Bell, and she's nice, and she looks just like Sable. She's got the exact same blaze with a little snip over her nose. It's very funny how it comes. It looks the exact same, and she's ready to run. So whatever we can get into, we'll get her career going.
Nice. So we'll be looking for that again. And that you got to be waiting with some kind of excitement because it's fun when you own, but I'm guessing it's got to be extra fun when it's a homebred.
Yeah, it's pretty special, and I told Gary, whenever she was going to run, I wanted to be there. You're right. It is a little. It's an added wrinkle. There's all kinds of different experiences in the sport, and no matter what you're doing, it's
because wasn't the mayor Sable won at Saratoga for you guys, right?
She did.
Yeah.
She won on the day that Rachel Alexandra, the day of that that crazy personal incident, and. I think it was the second race that day? Second race, I think. And, that was so important to so many people who had dreamt about, even running a horse at Saratoga, let alone winning. Yeah. And this is a Macho Uno, and actually a breeding that Frank Stronach himself suggested. We were going to go to Alphabet Soup or to Silent Name, for smaller money. And Frank reviews every breeding at Adena Springs, and he said that you should overbreed this mare, and Macho Uno would be good for her. And she's certainly she's a pretty filly. And actually, I'm kind of glad we waited. Things have turned out the way they did, because a first foal is notoriously small, and Macho Uno's not a big horse himself. So she was a small foal, and it's taken her time to grow, but she's really filled out. So I'm not disturbed that it took the January of her 4-year-old year to get going. She may benefit from that.
All right, we'll look for back in the entry box, Carlisle Bell. All right, wanted to get some thoughts on the 3-year-old races for this afternoon, but before we do that, I'm sure you had some opinions after last week, and I wanted to talk a little bit about and get a chance to go back, take a look at the 2 nice 3-year-old races that were on the Sham out in Southern California. And first we'll look at the Mucho Macho Man down at Gulfstream. We're going to go back, watch the stretch run here. Chad's Mask wins this one, wins it pretty easily. Is the 7-5 favorite to go 2 for 2 in the career. Mask will be the number 6 horse. Number 4, Bal Harbor, already a stakes winner for Todd Pletcher coming in, runs second. And Dak Attack came in undefeated, but hadn't been seen since winning the Ellis Juvenile back in August. So I thought the 3rd place finish from number 3, Dak Attack, was okay off of that layoff. But boy, it was an impressive performance. We're talking January 6th, and this was a good-looking horse on one of the first steps on the Derby Trail, Mask winning here. What were your thoughts on the Mucho Macho Man?
Well, this is a serious horse, and
yeah.
We know that Chad Brown has been excited about the prospects for Mask. Lane's End certainly was excited, and as a Tappet, anytime you see a Tappet perform professionally in the early stages of their career, that's an excellent sign, because they're notoriously flighty, and it frequently takes them some racing experience to kind of get their head in the game. And the way he performed here, where he wasn't even being asked by Javier Castellano, everybody else is being implored, and he did it so nicely. And despite this very interesting combination between Mask and McKinsey, who both won a week ago today, and that is, they're both out of what you would consider sprint stallions. And Mask, being out of a Yanaguska mare, and McKinsey out of a Passchendaele mare, both pedigrees have the unusual, more like more stamina, middle distance plus stallions over speed kinds of dams. Usually it's the inverse. You get speed from the sire and stamina from the dam. So they're kind of a flip-flop on pedigree, but as it happens, both of them ran through the wire like added distance is not going to be a problem. So Mask immediately stamps himself as a serious player. 91 buyer in the 3-year-old debut, a perfect situation to build on. And, of course, now Chad Brown only has to keep them separated, Mask and Good Magic. Obviously, a big player moving forward. He's a February foal, so, he's right on time. A lot of things to like about the way Mask performed in the 3-year-old bow and going forward.
All right, let's go to Southern California. McKinsey in the Sham. McKinsey went off as the 1-5 favorite under Mike Smith for Bob Baffert. McKinsey's going to be the number 6 horse. Maybe the disappointment was Hollendorfer's Shiver Me Timbers. Came in off a maiden breaker down at Del Mar in the 3rd career start with a good number at 9-2. Number 5 Shiver Me Timbers runs 4th in here, but it was the stakes debut coming out of a maiden special, so I'll give that one another shot. But McKinsey, they take the blinkers off, looks to be the right move, wins by a chart margin of 3.5. What were your thoughts on McKinsey?
Well, McKinsey had to perform better than he did at Los Al in the Futurity. And this was kind of the effort I'm sure Baffert would have liked to have had in the Futurity, where because of the name, because of the horse, for those that don't know the backstory, McKinsey is named for Brad McKinsey, longtime executive at Los Al, a friend of Bob Baffert and Mike Pegram and his partners for many, many years. Just a guy that was widely respected and well-liked, and fell by cancer really sadly earlier last year. They named this horse after Brad McKenzie, and so they've got hopes pinned. The way he struggled down the stretch at Los Al, I think a lot of people, immediately put up a question mark about how viable a 3-year-old prospect he was going to be on the Classic Trail. But as Baffert explained, and for those that know the hairpin nature of Los Al, the elongated paperclip layout, it's a weird course. And when horses are running down the lane at Los Al, they're waiting for the wire, looking for the wire, and they'll get a little tired, they'll change speeds, they can get awkward. And the other element is the turns. The turns are really acute. And so a horse like McKenzie's kind of a big, lopey, gangly thing. He may have looked worse than he was in the futurity. And this was a very big step forward, I thought. That's a big, 97, I think, buyer. And the way he did this, very, very professionally rated. The blinkers, he was too keen in the futurity, so Baffert takes the hood off. There was a lot of things to like. And so I think now Baffert will back off at him a little bit and then come back with a late, like a March, April pair of starts before Derby. McKenzie, anybody that was into him as a 2-year-old, you got a lot to be excited about.
You talk about the name honoring a guy who's passed there. How about yesterday, the Van Berg horse winning a profound moment, yet the name of the horse down at Oaklawn in the season opener down there?
Absolutely. And in addition to Tom Van Berg, Jack's son, taking over the barn, there also was Billy Gowan winning the second race as well. Billy Gowan, of course, an assistant of Jack Van Berg. So it was a very special opening day at Hot Springs. They had the best handle they've had in the history of the racetrack for an opening day, over $4.5 million. There were so many things that were special, obviously attached to the emotion at the beginning of the week. As it happened yesterday, I spent some time with Frank Naramati at Aqueduct. Frank, of course, delivering the eulogy, handpicked by JBB to deliver the eulogy at the service at the Hot Springs Convention Center on Monday. Yeah, absolutely, Seth. Very, very poignant.
Yeah, really nice. All right, let's get some ideas for this afternoon on the 2-3-year-old races. First, we'll take a look at the Jerome. I'm going to pull up the Champagne here because I said it earlier on the show. Who would expect the Champagne winner to show up the first week or two in January in New York? But we're going to get Firenze Fire. That's going to be the 12 horse here in the Champagne. Running second that day, Good Magic. Good Magic kind of flipped the card in the Breeders' Cup subsequently. But, boy, this was a nice performance. I think this horse will take the action this afternoon, again, being the Champagne winner, showing up in the Jerome. But 7 Trumpets comes in for Dale and West Point with a couple of nice wins down at Churchill. Todd has Colt in Mississippi. Old Time Revival, to me, is interesting on the comeback off a end of the year kind of a layoff, but came back in December with a much improved performance down in Laurel. What are your thoughts on this afternoon's Jerome?
Well, obviously, everything centers around Firenze Fire, and I don't see necessarily what is lining up against him that is particularly imposing. Firenze Fire has had a interesting development curve in both the Breeders' Cup effort and the situation going into the Hopeful. Both times he came in with a little bit of a squirrely circumstance, spiking a fever, came out of the before the Juvenile, and then had going into the Hopeful, came out of the Hopeful with the mucus, and so both times had been a little sick. So you put a line through those two off efforts, and he looks pretty darn good. And I would expect that he comes out running, and a very short price in here. If you're looking for some options, the fact that Colton, Mississippi gets supplemented in here, okay, I get it. Fletcher, is going to test out as many of these as he can. 7 Trumpets. I talked to Dale Romans earlier this week. In fact, our friend and partner on Carlisle Bell, Ed Kelly, was in town. He's in for 7 Trumpets. He's coming in anyway, so he came in a day early to hopefully see Carlisle Bell run. But 7 Trumpets, Dale feels, is ready for the 3-year-old debut, and he's going to need to step forward, I think, and raise it a level. the horse that's interesting in here that I think people should take a couple of extra looks at is the Old Time Revival colt, the Brethren, from Fred Bry, Jackson Better. Now, Ken Decker, Ken Decker was sort of the B trainer for Jackson Better Farm and long associated with Stanley Gold. This horse came back in that December race after being gone about 3-4 months. Had a couple of early season tries at Laurel for Decker, and then won at 7 furlongs. And if you haven't seen that race, pull it up because he looked terrific. So if he can stretch out another added length in here, I think Old Time Revival. And I haven't even checked the morning line, so that's the horse at a price that kind of I put a question mark next to. But Firenze Fire, if he's going to launch his season and get things going towards Derby, I think he needs to turn in at least a B plus, A minus kind of effort.
I'm in the same boat on Old Time Revival, though, because that comeback was a really improved effort. A little bullet workout at the end of December following that. I'll ask, too, did you see Diamond King win the stake a couple of weeks ago down at Laurel, the Hef, just before the end of the year? That was a nice performance. I'm going to be interested to see if they try to stretch that one out again, because that was a gutsy performance. Tested early, and then the Linda Rice horse passed in the stretch, and you thought, all done, and he came back again and wins. So down in Laurel, that's one I'll be interested in. All right, let's move to the Lecomte down at the fairgrounds this afternoon. A little bit earlier, we looked at the Steve Asmussen horse that likely to be the favorite, but I wanted to pull up the replay of the horse that I said earlier I found very interesting, Instilled Regard. We're going to watch the Los Al Futurity here. Salamini will come first under the wire, then Mackenzie, then Instilled Regard. Salamini winds up getting DQ'd from first to third here, but Instilled Regard is going to be the number one horse. Again, third under the wire. But I said it earlier, it just seems over the past few years, these Southern California shippers come east for these Derby Trail type of races and do very, very well. So the Jerry Hollendorfer trainee, to me, is really interesting this afternoon.
I agree. And here we just talked about McKenzie, and Instilled Regard was mixing it up and actually was between horses. He was in the toughest position in that Los Al Futurity. So absolutely. To me, he is the horse to beat. You're talking about the Asmussen favorite, Principe Guillermo. I came to the realization, by the way, the other day that what this name actually is Prince William in Portuguese. So that has sort of clarified the whole thing. I was Guillermo in high school in the Spanish class because there was already an Esteban. So they made me Guillermo, which is William in Spanish. So Guillermo in Portuguese, Three Chimneys, the Torrealbas, and Principe is Prince in all kinds of languages, so it's Prince William. He'll be tough. I know people are lining up to play against him, but I don't know why exactly. But Instilled Regard, absolutely the horse to beat to me, and not the favorite. You've got all these other Asmussen runners, Larry Jones in base in here as well, and certainly Cowboy Karma. Believe in Royalty, who didn't perform all that great in the Springboard Mile. Maybe he can snap back. And actually, the third of the Larry Jones runners, Prince Lucky, the Corinthian colt, the Pennsylvania bred, homebred by Dan McConnell, coming out of that Pennsylvania nursery, that was all right, that performance. And this horse has done very long. If he can translate the two turns, and I imagine Leparoux will take him back early. He's 8-1, and I think among the prices, he may be the fun horse to play around with. I should mention, by the way, Seth, I went to go look Old Time Revival. He's a scratch out of the Jerome, and so is Smooth B, the Butchie Reed. So both of the Mid-Atlantic runners scratch out. So we got a field of 6 now coming in the Jerome, and that could change the pace scenario.
Yeah, make things a little bit interesting. Again, nice stakes card down at the Fairgrounds, highlighted by the comp. Jerome scheduled at Aqueduct. So again, nice stakes action on this Saturday, and we hit on some of that. Steve, as always, appreciate the visit. Anything special coming up this week on the radio show?
I will have lots of regulars and lots of trainer guests and horsemen, and You know the drill. I'll have Seth Merrow, who I hear is going to be on Twitter soon.
Well, now I got. Yeah, you reminded me. I got to get down because I said I promised by your show. All right. And I looked up. It was I had signed up like in 2009. That's why I couldn't remember. It was a long time ago.
There's a lot of things that have a lot of water under the bridge. A lot of horses left the barn.
I'm not gonna rehash what we were talking about because I looked stupid when I was talking. People can pull up the archive of your show.
It was very funny. Are you? My question is, I can't see you obviously. Are you wearing the bathrobe today? Did you break out the bathrobe?
No. Coat and tie for the morning show. We go a little slightly more casual though for the afternoon because, like I say, I like to roll up the sleeves and get right into it in the afternoon. The Kramer Financial Network kind of a thing.
Well, I hope everybody has a great weekend. No racing for me. I'm on my way to the link for the Eagles-Falcons
nice.
divisional playoff game.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, as an Eagles fan, yeah, there you go. As a Jets fan, once again, I'm waiting till next year. Although now I'm into Syracuse basketball, so it all works out in the end.
When we were checking into the hotel, there was a guy. Is SU down here this weekend? Because there was a guy with an SU sweatshirt checking
good question. It's possible. Yeah, good question. I haven't looked at the schedule in a few days. Yeah, well, I don't know. All right, Steve, as always, appreciate the visit. Enjoy the game.
Thanks so much. Good luck, everybody.
Steve Bick, you can catch him Sirius and XM. Check out the website. You can listen live that way. Pull up archives, Sirius XM Radio, or replays here on our network as well. All right, I'm late because I started late because of the crazy weather today. But it all came out in the end. Really fun talking top of the show with our friend Terry Finley. Of course, they have 7 trumpets today in the Jerome, but we got a little update on his 2 good Breeders' Cup juvenile turf runners as well and more. Joe Christofek gave us some updates and thoughts on this afternoon at the fairgrounds, and we covered a number of topics with our friend Steve Bick. So nice show this morning. Do want to remind you if I have, and I don't think I have my my promos here, but I'm being told in my ear what. Yeah. There's a Fan Appreciation Day, Slate Valley Lanes branch out in Granville. If you are a patron out there, swing on by today. The Slate Valley Lanes Easy Bet in Granville. There's also the start to the Road to Vegas contest today. So go to the website, find out more information, because that will lead to a year-end playoff that'll have an NHC seat up for grabs out in Vegas. So that kicks off today. Florida Bonus, don't forget about Wednesdays for the 1% Florida Bonus. More information on that at the website. Football on Sunday here at the Clubhouse Racebook. Tomorrow, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All the playoff action, all the racing action as well here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. And of course, thanks to our friends at Gulfstream Park. Gulfstream Park, champions start here. We'll be down in a couple weeks for the Pegasus. That should be a lot of fun. All right. I'm late. I got to go, but I'll be back in about an hour with OTB Live for Saturday afternoon. Hope you enjoyed the show. As always, questions, comments, suggestions, viewer mail at capitalotb.com. Tweet to us on our Twitter account. Go to our Facebook page and let us know. Otherwise, I'll wrap things for this morning. We'll be back tomorrow morning with Racing Across America at 10 o'clock. And again, in about an hour with OTB Live. Stay tuned.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.